And welcome on in. Going to say good morning to Congressman Scott DesJarlais. Congressman, always great to have you on. How are you this morning?
Doing great, thank you.
Well, you sound nice and awake. We were actually joking before you came on how awake you would be because I tried to, how dare I tried to book you for the 6 o'clock hour. You said, I'm sleeping in. So talk about how you're feeling this morning. And I really, there's a number of things I want to talk about. Number one is how everything unfolded on Wednesday night, Thursday morning when it was passed, but also what's been going on since. And so you're now home, but I mean, it's been a long journey.
It was a busy, kind of wild, crazy, frustrating week. But I should have been on at 6. I was up at 5:30 this morning. I'm turning into you.
Well, then you'd have to get up at midnight because that's when I start my show prep.
How do you? Okay, so we did a show the other night at like 2 in the morning, and you were doing a show that was, I guess, an all-nighter. How often do you do that, and how do you do it?
Red Eye Radio, and I do that, I think, about 4 or 5 weeks a year. I think it's a nationally syndicated show, and I'm on the air typically, depending on what day it is, from either my home or here at the radio station. And I do midnight to 5, and then I'm on the air 5 to 9. And I'll start to do prep maybe at like 8 o'clock or 8 p.m. leading into the midnight show. Don't ask me how I do it because nobody really knows. I don't even know, except that it's a really, really difficult week when I do those. But, but it was great because when all of this was unfolding Wednesday night, Thursday morning, you came on the air with me and gave me a little bit of play-by-play. Talk about, because it was like, okay, y'all can go home. Then it's like, oh, no, you have to come back. And it was just sort of back and forth. It was just, it was crazy, yeah. All of the behind-the-scenes shenanigans.
Okay, so it's kind of like in medicine when you're on call. You sleep with one eye open because you don't really know what's going to happen. And, we knew it was going to go into the night, but we got a call. I can't remember what time you and I talked, maybe 2 in the morning, something like that. And then we get a call that they're starting debate on the bill at 3, and that's supposed to go for an hour, but we know it'd go a little longer, but they said you're supposed to vote at 5. So, I got up, showered, went into the office and sat there and drank coffee, and they moved it to 6, and they moved it to 7, and then Jeffries kept talking, and then it was 8. And finally they just decided that we were going to vote whenever he was done. And I thought, okay, this guy's going to go for the record because Pelosi had spoken for, I don't remember, 8 hours, and McCarthy spoke for 8 hours and 32 minutes and whatever it was. But anyways, he rambled on up there for 8 hours and 45 minutes saying basically nothing. And I think it was pretty frustrating for everything. I don't even think his own team knew he was going to do it. He just decided to do it. And I listened to part of it, but I don't know if you did. It really wasn't saying anything, just everything Trump does is bad.
I wasn't, Congressman, if I may, I was not going to dignify his long, drawn-out, lying speech with listening to too much of it. I played 20 seconds on the radio, and that was about it. One of the things I find fascinating about this whole thing is, you had some of these congressmen, Republicans, that had to be convinced that they needed to vote for the big, beautiful bill. And they were going to be, no votes, no votes, no votes until they were yes votes. What happened in the final hour? Do you know?
Yeah, it really is amazing because, you saw that there was a group and they kind of stick together, and it's some form of negotiation. It's like they probably knew all along that they were going to vote for it. We kind of had to. And in all honesty, everything in this bill is not perfect, but I would say we accomplished more in this one bill than we did in his entire first term. We had all kinds of things we wanted to do that first term back in 2017. The tax cuts were about the only thing we got done, and people forget how much it helped them. And had that expired, they would have learned in a hurry that they missed that. But there were other things in there that dealt with energy independence and border security. And there used to be this concept in America where, if you are able to work, you should do your share, you should help pull the wagon, not just sit in it. And people are freaking out because Now, we're asking people who can work that they should work. And in a state like Tennessee, every person that comes to my office to talk to me about their business complains about workforce problems, that they don't have enough people to do jobs. And so to say, you can't work, or you shouldn't work, or you don't want to work, I mean, for all of us that do and pay taxes, it should be pretty refreshing to know that we're taking steps to actually ask people to pitch in a little bit instead of just take from the government. It used to be kind of shameful to, if you had to be on food stamps, maybe you had to because you were in a tough time, or maybe you had to be on Medicaid because, you're going through a rough time, you were sick, and that's what those safety nets are for. But it became just a way of life, and everyone thought, well, hell, everyone else is doing it, I'm going to do it too. And so in this bill, for first time in a long time, we're actually asking people to pitch in and help with the country. I mean, help do your part, and if you need help, there's still help there. So I don't understand why it's such a tough concept. I mean, to go off on a rant here, but the people that are complaining about this bill have kind of forgotten what America was about, built on, and how it's supposed to function.
Well, and I'll tell you that for people that need a reminder, go to my X feed. Congressman, I don't know if you've seen this yet. Go to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show, and there is a video that went viral, and you got a bunch of, it's like a family, and they're dancing at the checkout after spending $3,000 at Walmart on EBT food stamps. And apparently this is what she does. And they are clearly ripping off the system. And I will mention, you talked about how people are ripping off the government. They're really ripping off all of us, because those are our taxpayer dollars that people are using. And these folks, this took the internet and social media by storm over the weekend, because you have this family and they are doing this happy dance because they have once again been able to rip off the American taxpayer by clearly going to Walmart. And this is a woman, clearly she's dancing around. She could be working, but I don't know what her situation is, but it looks to me like it is more waste, fraud, and abuse. These are the kinds of things that really tick people off. So, I mean, if you want to go see it, find it on my X feed at Dan Mandis Show. More with Congressman Scott DesJarlais is coming up next. It is 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Rural Hill, 24 westbound past Bell Road, accident on the shoulder involving 2 tractor trailers. No problems on 40 or 65. I'm Christy O'Brien.
As far as your weather for today, we are going to have some possible thunderstorms. High of 92, going to feel like 100 degrees. Thanks for listening to Nashville's Morning News. All right, so Congressman Scott DesJarlais, I almost called you Scott Green. Congressman Scott DesJarlais, let's talk a little bit about the reaction to the big, beautiful bill, because if you listen to the media and the Democrats, James Carville even said that there was going to be a lot of Republicans voted out of office because this big, beautiful bill is extremely unpopular. I've stopped really paying attention to polls, but it's hard for me to believe that a bunch of tax breaks are unpopular.
Yeah, polls and trolls, I tell you, they're out there. And you have social media, I have social media. When Biden was in office, I could post something, and you wouldn't hear from these people. Ever since Trump's been there, it doesn't matter what we post, how positive it is. I mean, there are people out there, the keyboard warriors, that just find a way to complain about everything. And, I think Trump derangement syndrome is real. Some people just can't stand the guy for whatever reason. And I think a lot of it's the media, because they demonized him, to such a great extent. But yet Biden, who we know was not able to function, kind of got a pass. Hunter Biden got a pass. Hillary Clinton got a pass. But, Trump's just this terrible guy. I think he really wants to help the country, and I think he's the businessman, and he's trying to rebuild our economy by bringing manufacturing back, actually asking people to work and contribute. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see in a year when we have the midterms how things are going. But, a few months ago, Trump had tanked the stock market because he was doing these tariff deals. It was down to whatever. Everyone's 401ks were off 15, 20, 30%. Well, guess what? It's like almost like record highs right now. And I get it. That could change. That, you know, a month from now we could be talking it's gone the other way. But the inflation rate is down. The job numbers are up. You know, things are working. And so, you know, I felt like if we didn't pass this bill, you know, you talked about the people that, you know, need to get attention or try to get special, you know, maybe they have needs for their district. Lisa Murkowski certainly in the Senate got things done that, you know, were for her. But, you know, unfortunately, that's the way government works. You have to work with people to get things done. But we'll see. I mean, let's see where we're at a year from now. Everyone liked Trump's economy back in 2017, and I think the economy's getting better. I saw gas prices like $2.40 up around Nashville when I was coming home the other day, and I think egg prices are down, and there's just a whole lot of good things going on. We destroyed a lot of Iran's nuclear capabilities.
Yeah.
You know, I think our adversaries respect us again. They think. You know, we had an incredible mission with the B-2 bombers, and we got a B-21 that's coming out that makes that thing look like a toy. And so I think for the rest of the world, they see us strong again. They see our recruitment's up. The Army has met their recruitment. It was down 25%. And there's just so many good things happening. So Carville and those guys can say we're going to take a beating in the midterms, and that's pretty typical. When a president gets elected, the midterms tend to go the wrong way. But if you do the right thing, and people are starting to feel like, okay, the border's secure, the military's better, I've got money in my pocket, the stock market's up. You know, I think we have a pretty good chance of keeping the House, and I think we'll keep the Senate, and so time will tell. We'll see how this bill works out, but people elected him because they wanted something different. And so we came together and we did, big, beautiful bill. Trump always has to have fancy names, and that annoys some people. We got the Golden Dome that we're supposed to build to help protect America, and people are complaining about that.
Alligator Alcatraz, one of my all-time favorite Trump names.
Yeah, he has some dandies, but I just think that we're in a pretty good place right now, and now we can get back. We can get our defense authorization bill done. We can get our farm bill done. We were kind of paralyzed until we got this done, and it was hard. And credit to Speaker Mike Johnson. A lot of people like, who is this guy? Looks like Mr. Peabody, whatever. He's very sincere. He's very genuine. I don't think he's cutting side deals like some other speakers have done. It's just like, hey, team, let's get together. We put Trump in office. He's the quarterback or he's the coach. Let's run his plays. People elected him. I mean, they elected us too, but they elected us to promote his agenda, and I think that's what we're doing. So all the naysayers, heck, they may be right about some things, but I think we did a lot of good things with this bill, and I think Trump's vision for America is not because he wants to be king, or he just wants it to be a better place the way it used to be, and so I've been telling people I'm more optimistic now than I've been since I've been in office, and I think we're going to continue to do good things.
All right, Congressman Scott DesJarlais, always appreciate having you on. Great analysis and insight as always.